This is the Samyang 85mm f1.4 lens for Olympus full third mount, designed for DSLR cameras and subsequently discontinued after the introduction of mirrorless micro four third formats. So don't confuse these two, full third and micro four third. You won't be able to use these two systems interchangeably. In fact, when I first saw this lens listed on Amazon, I thought I was going to get the micro four third version, and only after a lot of digging and asking around did I understood that this is a completely different mount. Fortunately, you can still find the adapter for this mount system. I didn't find any official information regarding this lens on Samyang's official website. It looks like it's been long retired. As you can see, the appearance of this lens is quite different from today's typical Samyang manual lenses with a red ring. This one features a golden ring instead, and a plate on top of the lens that says Samyang 85mm spherical IF. I've never seen this kind of marking before. I suspect that the optics is still the same as current Samyang 85mm f1.4 manual lenses for E mount, A mount, or Canon, or any other mount right now. Just like the current version, it has 8 blades aperture, short and sturdy barrel build, and has quite a little bit of heft, kind of a little bit heavy because of the giant glass. The focus ring is rubberized and has a lot of resistance when it's turned. It's going to be very difficult to track any fast action. Even slow action is going to be difficult to track, let alone fast action with no autofocus. The aperture ring is clicked, goes from f1.4 directly to f2. It's a shame that there's no f1.8 in between these two for you to choose. Performance-wise, it is similar to how I remember Samyang 85mm f1.4 E-mount version that I used to own. You can expect the same characteristics. It's rather soft wide open at f1.4, plus the razor-thin depth of field makes it even harder to get a sharp image. Stepping down the f-stop, it can be a very sharp lens for a landscape. However, shooting against the sun is going to be a pain in the neck, a lot of color casting, loss of contrast. It can be hard to fix in a post if not careful. A lot of shots from this lens are simply too plain, too flat. There's no contrast, and you can fix it very easily in post by just adding more contrast. Adapted on micro four third system, it has a field of view of full frame 170mm equivalent, which is really long focal length. You can do portrait with it, but you have to step back quite a bit to get a decent shot. Just imagine shooting with 85mm lens on full frame, but you have to crop in 2 times. That's what you get. A very limited viewing angle. As a landscape lens, it can be very effective, very interesting, but again, the focal length is limiting how close you can get to your subject. It doesn't give you much freedom in practical usage. If you shoot event, sport, you can forget about this lens. Anything that moves, even very slightly, will be extremely hard to capture due to the factors I already mentioned above, the thin depth of field and a tough focus ring. It also has a very long minimum focusing distance, about 1 meter, so you can't do anything resembles macro. So what can you use it for? Well, I got this lens because one, it was at a huge discount, and second, I didn't have any f1.4 fast lens in my arsenal, so I just thought I felt like I had to have one just in case I needed bokeh. Speaking of bokeh, well, this is the one thing that this lens does really well, being a bokeh machine. To be honest, even at f2, it creates a very beautiful subject separation. Actually, f2 is my go-to aperture with this lens for bokeh shots, simply because the image will be sharper, and that amount of blur actually also matches the expectation of micro four third look very well. Overall, I think it's a pretty niche lens for micro four third system. Not a day-to-day shooter, at least not for me.